Raksha is one of those bosses that I find myself still doing a couple hours here and there. As it's good GP, there's nothing too complex about it, and it's a good fallback boss to have. Now, I've already made a guide on Raksha. I did a straightforward one a long time ago. That method I have pretty much completely stopped using. I believe it was like some necro range hybrid type deal. And then the one I have been using is the range camp method that does like 30 kills per hour. It's actually pretty strong, but sometimes I just want to go in there with a little bit more relaxed setup, and that's what today's method is on. This melee camp setup is very straightforward. The only technical part of a pre-build is on that adrenaline crystal down there, you hit a D-back spec, and other than that, you go in, you press the buttons for the rotation, you get your kill. It's a consistent anywhere from a 133 to a 145. Now it seems like kind of a wide window as far as kill time is concerned, but the 145s are mostly me just making an error or two. Now real quick, I'm just going to do some housekeeping. A lot of you have been commenting about how much you like the thumbnails, and thank you very much for that. One of my Twitch VIPs, he also has a little art badge as he did some sub badges for me. He's the one who's been doing the thumbnails recently, and y'all seem to be enjoying that, so thank you very much on that. He doesn't really stream or have any social media presence, but if he ever does decide to do that, I will definitely be linking anything he does in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and get right into this guide. So the preset here is pretty straightforward.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Now, there are a few EOFs in here, which is the only real standout thing, and we don't have a Blessed Flask, we actually have Spiritual Prayers. If we break it down into its individual components, it's not too bad. So starting off, we have the full vestment set. Perks, just go for standard best in slot. I still have Slayer perks on here from doing other things with melee, but for Raksha, don't need any of those, so just use whatever you have. The Enhanced Gloves of Passage are pretty strong. I also have the enchantment here, and we will be using an EZK spec, so having these will definitely be helpful. The full scripture can be replaced with an Amasket scripture. I've seen some people use Jazz, but Jazz scripture seems a little bit too weak for my taste. The reason some people use scripture of Amasket is I believe the bleed stacks with the Champion's Ring buff, and I did see some pretty good consistency with that scripture, but I've ended up going with full because the recharge cost is a lot cheaper and it has the potential to go faster. I have the Dragon Battle Axe equipped in the preset just so I can immediately hit spec and then just run into the kill. The Nexus is pretty self-explanatory. It is for Bone Shield. Champion's Ring works very nicely when you have all of the bleeds going on. Pretty much any bleed counts for this ring, and it helps out with accuracy when you're DBA'd in the beginning, so it's definitely worthwhile to use this. If you just have the standard Zuck Cape, not the hard mode one, you should be able to do this just fine, but if you have the hybrid one, might as well throw it in here. And the EOF here will bring us into the main preset itself. This one is a Dragon Longsword. This one is an EZK, and this one is a ZGS.
What?
Now you might be asking yourself, why on earth do you have a ZGS inside of an EOF? And that is because technically speaking, it is better, but honestly not really. The little auto attacks that go onto any target that's within the ZGS range is dependent on the weapon tier. So if you're holding an EZK or the Langs with either the shard upgrades, honestly, I'm not even sure if the shard upgrades help out with this or are calculated into this, but technically it is better to have it in EOF. If you don't have the room or an extra EOF or don't want to pay for one, don't bother. It's honestly pretty dumb, but I did this a long time ago and I've just kept it this way, so it is what it is. The other weapons I am using, I just have a main hand Lang here, and that's to replace the Dragon Battle Axe once I spec on the Adren Crystal. I have a physical EZK. If you want to use a Masterwork two-hander, go ahead and use that. It's just for cleave. And the spear is useful because you're going to be doing quite a few bleeds during your EZK and you want them to be lasting quite a bit longer. That is pretty good damage. And Jaws of the Abyss here gives you additional adrenaline per bleed on the target when using basic abilities, which is very helpful for when you're using an EZK spec and trying to also use a ZGS spec in between both of your Zerks. Armor spikes are the primal abyssal armor spikes. These are the best version, and you want the abyssal ones because they give out the little bleed effect and can stack up over time. For rune pouches, I just have these two pouches here. These are what I use when I'm on the Lunar Spellbook, and it gives me Venge and Disrupt Shield, and I think I can swap to ancients or normals and do something, but it's just for Venge and Disrupt Shield. Vitpot is nice for surviving rock falls when you're inside of a ZGS spec and can't really move around. And then it's just the simple stuff like Vuln Bombs, Adrenaline Renewals, and an Overload, and some food to complete the preset. Now, the reason we are using Spiritual Prayer potions here instead of a Blessed Flask is because the fact we're going to be using a Ripper Demon, we are not going to be using a Calg. Ripper Demon is a nice effect. It does pretty decent damage. It has some accuracy issues, but it's better than nothing. But the passive effect of getting a damage increase as the boss's HP goes down is definitely very nice. Now for the last little bits of gear, kind of the important support stuff, I do use Spirit Weed Incense, I do use Lantidime Incense Sticks, I do use a Summoning Renewal, and obviously an Overload as my PC just decides to take off into the outer orbits of space. And I don't bother with Powder of Penance because we're going to be slamming Spiritual Prayers anyway. Obviously, we'll be using the Ripper Demon with a bunch of scrolls. And then for relics, all I'm using is Zerker Fury, Font of Life, and Conservation of Energy. Zerk Fury damage is definitely nice, and there's no real need to have Death Ward. You shouldn't be dying here much at all. And FOTS is not going to be really too helpful on rotations. So that's what we'll be going with. I think it is time to go ahead and get into a couple of example kills. All right, we have the preset loaded up and ready to go. I should definitely make sure my food is keybound. You will want Smoke Cloud keybound. I personally have it in my borrowed power, but if you want to go on to Ancients so you don't have to waste borrowed power charges and then just swap for your Venge and your Disrupt Shield, that'll totally work just fine. Phase 1 is where you want to remember to have Venge up, as it is helpful for the phasing of Phase 1. And if you remember to press it throughout the rest of the kill, good for you, but personally I forget most of the time. But we'll go ahead and make sure our scripture is on. I use Zerk Aura because you want the accuracy for this boss, and I think we can just go ahead and get right into it. So we'll hit our Dragon Battle Axe, equip our Lang. We're already venged up. Go ahead and go inside, make sure it's good. Now here what I'll do is I'll surge Bladed Dive so I get a global cooldown, hit a Zerk, I divert, chuck a Vuln Bomb and target cycle Barge, or tick in a Smoke Cloud with Assault and then hit Destroy. G Fury over Assault, or hit a Overpower, hit a basic into a Chaos Roar, EZK, equip the Helm, Dismember, Smash, Blood Tendrils run under with a Slaughter. If you don't walk the Slaughter, it's not, just walk it out later, and then go ahead and go for a ZGS spec. G Fury into a D-Long EOF, Dismember, Havoc, another basic, so we're at 85 Adren or so, hit Assault, our Vitpot, Overpower into a Lang spec, use a couple of abilities here. If you have to, go ahead and hit Destroy. I wasn't spamming my Ripper Demon a whole bunch, that's why the phasing was a little bit iffy there, it was on the close side. But here I'm just going to hit a couple of basic abilities. Words are kind of difficult. Build up to 120 and don't forget to revuln. You'll want to call your Ripper Demon as well. Anticipate, Zerk, Barge, go for a divert, and then hit an Assault, Chaos Roar, Lang spec, and then a Overpower. Almost said Omnipower. That's not the right style. G Fury into a Destroy. And then just here I'll use kind of improv with a couple of the long EOFs. Our second Lang spec. Maybe one more basic, and there's the first kill. Didn't get anything in particular that was too good as a drop, but you know, that's Raksha. You're basically getting nothing on commons until you get a Greco or a G-Chain. But we'll go ahead and just run a second kill just so you can see it again. Again, grab some adrenaline, make sure we're venged, hit our Dragon Battle Axe, grab more adrenaline, go through the portal, Surge Bladed Dive, Berserk, divert, toss the Vuln Bomb with target cycle Barge, 4-tick in a Smoke Cloud with the Assault Bleed, hit Destroy, go ahead and let it play out. G Fury into a Overpower. I'm going to Chaos Roar here because we're already at HP. EZK, Dismember, Smash. Run under with Slaughter this time, and then stay under with Blood Tendy so that way it gets walked. Hit our G Fury here. Into a ZGS. Into a D-Long. I need to build up here kind of quick. Maybe spam a couple of spirituals. G Fury into a Overpower Lang Spec. Lang Spec wasn't needed. Overpower just cleared house there. That was pretty nice. And we'll just build Adrenaline here. If you want to build a little faster, you can toss a Bleed and then keep your helmet on so you're getting more Adrenaline. Swap the helmets over so I can go past 100. Kind of just keep building here. Anticipate. Zerk. Toss down a Vuln Bomb. And then here I'll go ahead and hit Divert. Roar again and hit the Lang Spec. Another Overpower. G Fury into a Destroy. You don't really need to run around and collect too much of the stuff, but it can be helpful. Go into a Lang Spec, into a D-Long here again. And another one just for good measure. And there's a kill. That one happened to be a sub 140. I will say 139 to 140 is definitely the average here. Sometimes they're as fast as 133. Sometimes they're as slow as 145, but that's usually because I make a mistake or I just get really unlucky on hits. A couple of final notes here. You'll notice between the two kills that I didn't add the Sever in after Overpower on phase 1 for the second kill. And that is because Raksha was right around 660k. If you see 660k like a 665 or a 668 or something like that, basically anything below 670k, you can probably skip that Sever afterwards and just use Chaos Roar to go ahead and phase into phase 2 or get you to that 600k mark. If you see something like 675 or above, you definitely want to add at least a basic of some kind. I wouldn't do a D-Long or anything like that because then your adrenaline's going to be kind of screwed for the rest of the fight, but just a basic before your Chaos Roar isn't going to hurt anything. And I've been using this method for several hours here, and it's been, as long as I am consistent, it has been consistent for me. And this is one of those methods where as you keep doing it, you'll find little hidden quirks and features with it and backup rotations that'll help you get even more consistent. It's one of those things where as you keep learning the boss, you'll figure out what works and doesn't work. But I'm gonna stop yapping here and I will let y'all get on with your day. Thank you very much for watching. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, nighttime, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I will see you next time for the next guide. Peace.